right, it's the Super Centex Podcast with DJ Ramirez and Chad Conine. I'm Brice Cherry. Good morning. How are y'all doing?
I'm good. I just realized that I'm using my phone as my Zoom studio, and that's also where my Hamilton roster is. So, gonna have to get creative here.
All right, you'll have to pivot, as Ross from Friends might say. And DJ is coming to us from her lovely apartment. Looks like I always say it looks like Christmas lights, but you say
Well, now you can say it looks like Christmas lights because
Yes.
it's December. I
Yes.
don't really think I'm gonna decorate because I have to pack up the
Yes,
apartment.
true. I get it. So, in your rewind column, DJ, you wrote about La Vega's defense. You gave them some flowers. I thought that was nice. And as much as I love a good high scoring, just wild game, I mean, if you were watching Monday Night Football last night, the Broncos and Browns were kind of like that. Two not great teams, but they were certainly scoring a lot. Still, there is something beautiful about when a dynamic defense works in concert with one another. So like think about when like a really great pass rush comes in and it throws the quarterback off his, rhythm, and the linebackers have all the underneath guys covered, and then the quarterback rushes some throw downfield and the DB just bats it away easily. That's football at its core right there. Um, and I think it's just really highly underrated. Like I said, we love highlights, we love great one-handed catches and all those kind of things, but great defense is fun to watch. So my question is this: of the teams that we have left, who are like some of your favorite defensive guys to watch?
Well, I mean, I
Yeah,
named some in my column, so
Yeah, you
right,
did name
exactly.
some.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna pick, I'm gonna have to pick Warren Richardson because he's been so disruptive and
Mm.
so quick to the quarterback, and just it's hard not to really like watching that kid play. And funny enough, Coach Hyde wasn't super happy with the defense on Friday night, especially in the first half. I feel like they had to figure out some stuff in the first half, and then in the second half, they kind of let some runs out on the edge, kind of get away from them, and that was kind of how Silsby was able to score in the second half because they hadn't scored in the first, right? So, but I think Warren Richardson, being a senior, and he's not like what you would think of like as a guy, like as a lineman, right? Like when you
Right.
think
He's
of
not, he's
lineman.
kind of on the slender side, I would say.
Yeah, but he's pretty tall, and he's fast. So like it's really hard for you know quarterbacks to kind of get away from him, especially considering all of the other guys on the Vegas defense that are able to open up the trenches for him in order to get to the quarterback. But I mean, he's leading the team with 16 tackles for loss, 11 sacks. Uh, so I mean, he's a really good defensive end.
In the
Okay.
backfield a lot for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Chad?
I've got two bullet points off of DJ's points just now. Number one is I don't think we're going to see a happy Don Hyde unless it's in the post-game presser room at Jerryworld and they won. I think that's our next opportunity to see a happy Don Hyde.
You think he would go, yeah, we won the state championship, but we sure could have done this a lot better.
I've seen Don. I've seen him as a winner and a runner-up in the presser, and I can guarantee you that if he's the runner-up, he still won't be, looking on the bright side of things. The other point that you made, for Richardson to have such a good season is a big deal for that defense because that's something that they had to develop. They didn't necessarily have the dominance up front, and when they played Salina. Honestly, they got pushed around a little bit up front and had to make some different moves to get some guys in there. And Salina's a team that's still going in 4AD1. So I think their schedule really prepared them for that. the strength of their defense going into this season, I feel like was Antoine Good, Amir Gibson, and
Yeah.
Marquay Willis, the defensive back.
Yeah, their secondary is really good and they're really like I said, I think I mentioned the word sneaky. Um I couldn't find another word for it because it's just like they're always on you, right? Like if you're a receiver and you're trying to catch something like deep, you can expect one of those guys to be on you. And even
Hmm.
if they're not like glued to you, they're gonna be
Hmm.
somewhere in that area. Like I
Hmm.
think the week of no, go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. That's going to be really big on Friday night
Mhm.
because that's how Sealy has beaten our local teams. I feel like is making those big plays in the passing game. So La Vega's ability to take that away is going to be either Sealy's going to keep making big plays or La Vega's going to stop him from making big plays. So it'll
The
be
night I
fun to
cut
see how that.
the, the night I covered Lorena against or La Vega against Lorena in the season finale, regular season finale. I was very impressed with the DBs for La Vega and asked Don Hyde about it after the game, and he very much gave me like well, they're a work in progress kind of answer. But he he praised their play and their potential for sure. Um, and I mean, I think that's how you get better too, is having a coach who is going to push you and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think they're a ball hawking unit back there. They can make some plays, so fun to watch.
Before we jump into the next topic, the Hamilton defense was fantastic on Friday. It felt like a Saturday, a 2 p.m. game. Uh, they were playing Kearns, and it was very strange because, first of all, Yedi Reedus, whose first name is spelled Yeydy or Yedy, Yedi anyway, Yedi Reedus. I had
Okay.
to ask for pronunciation on that one. He intercepted a pass and ran it back for a touchdown, pick six, 40-yard pick six. So it's 7-0. And it was so weird because it was just like, for a lot of the game, you thought they're going to win this game 7-0.
Mm.
Kearns is not going to score. And had Hamilton not scored and made it 14-0, and Kearns, just threw caution to the wind and started heaving the ball deep, I think they might have won the game 7-0. A little while ago, when I was researching for this question, I looked up, and the reason I wanted to find the Hamilton roster is I had this photo where Hamilton had Kearns backed up in their own territory, and running back for Kearns, number 6, kind of got loose one way and then had to double back the other way, and he was just in jail the whole time. And at one point, Hamilton lineman Jackson Bates got tackled by a Kearns offensive lineman as he was trying to make a tackle of the running back, right?
Hmm.
So then, like, it goes through, like, he tackled the guys on him, and number 6 running back takes off the other way. And then the photo I ended up running was a swarm of the defenders around the running back, and there's Bates, finishing up the play. He got up from being tackled and got back into play, and I think that kind of shows the relentlessness of that defense.
Yeah, that man, you love to see that. And to me, really great high school defenses have a swarming characteristic about them. They all flock to the ball. Um, I'll mention one other guy before we get to the next topic, which is you don't often think about six-man football as having great defense, but I've said it before. Some of those kids are amazing open field tacklers just because they
They
have
have
to
to be.
be.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who's done that for 4 years now is Joey Pavelka for
Yeah.
Abbott. Uh, I mean, DJ, you had him as one of your six-man players of the week this week. Obviously, we don't have that many six-man teams left, but still,
And
um,
not all of them send me stats. So
right. But 19 tackles this week, and that's just like, I mean, he falls out of bed and does stuff like that. I mean, he's been doing it for 4 years. A really, really dominant force on the defensive side for Abbott. So yeah, shout out Joey Pavelka. Um, so Chad referenced the Hamilton Bulldogs, and we've got a really good all Centex matchup in the playoffs this week. with Hamilton and Axtell facing off in the regional final. These two
Yeah,
teams,
our 11-man games on Friday night are enticing.
yes, very
Yeah,
good, no
yeah.
doubt.
Hmm.
Uh, these two teams met in the bi-district playoffs 2 years ago, if you'll recall. Um, Bulldogs took a 35-21 win in that game. Obviously, both teams are a lot better. Hamilton in the midst of its best season ever. Axtell, right there with them. Um, so who do you like in the Red Dead Redemption matchup?
It's red and black. Hey, I like to see red and black versus red and black.
There you go. Red Raider boy.
It's like Texas Tech spring game.
So what do you think? You've seen both these schools.
Yeah, yeah. I think that Axtell has the better playmakers on offense, and Hamilton has the better team defense.
Mm.
Now, I put in my story, there was a big Hamilton crowd at the game on Friday in Weatherford. And you just imagine a lot of those people are looking to each other saying defense wins championships, right? Because that's exactly the kind of game it was for them. So here we are, a regional championship. Can defense win a championship? Now, the thing that has impressed me about Axtell, and the thing that impressed me when I saw them, and I saw them after Levi Leathers got hurt, is that they have 4 or 5 guys that they can count on to make plays. And I think maybe the reason that we didn't mention any of those guys a minute ago when we were talking about defensive players is they catch your eye so much on offense. But as we all know in 2A, those guys are going to flip around and play both sides of the ball. And so, I mean, I'm going to pick this game, and I might as well flip a coin. I mean, it would be easy to overthink it. So I think I'll just, yeah, flip a coin because I could see a path to both teams winning the game.
Mm. DJ?
I obviously haven't seen Hamilton play, but just from everything I've been told, all the, recaps I've read of them, highlight videos, whatever, I feel like they have the edge just because they have the size. And it's not like Axtell hasn't beaten guys that are bigger than them. Um, and it's just like I feel like Hamilton has everything together, right? Like it'd be really cool to see Axtell win. I also didn't want to overthink this, so I kind of just I went with Hamilton because it was like they've got an unbeaten record, and just based off of talking to Coach Horn a few weeks ago, and him saying like we're missing some linemen, we're not fully healthy, but I and it I don't know. It's just like they're playing their best with what they have, and what they have is really, really good. I just think that right now, Hamilton, on paper at least, looks like the team to beat. And I don't know. I'm with Chad on like this is a real toss-up because they both teams have guys that are so good. They have their strengths are, what they've won despite of some of the things that have gone wrong for them. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna put it past Axel coming out and winning this game because I mean, Colden Horn is so good at Wildcat. Tyson Mitchell is so good at running back. They've got what Troy Arlett, deep. They can still throw the ball even without Levi Leathers. Um, but yeah, like it just feels like without their front three, they're at a little bit of a disadvantage.
If this were the UIL debate competition and I was arguing the Axtell side, one thing I'd bring up is that I don't have in-depth analysis on Axtell's game last week, but I can tell you this: Kearns had topped out at 7-6, or at the third round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Their organization did not look like a deep playoff run team, and they may have had too many penalties. They couldn't get their best players in space with the ball, and that probably had a lot to do with what Hamilton was doing. But I don't think that Kearns was
a world beater.
No, they weren't. They weren't even a very good third round team.
Well, all our Kearns listeners are just flipping Chad off now. uh,
csconine@gmail.com. Go ahead, bring it on.
uh, I love basically both called it a toss-up game. I love a great all Central Texas game in the playoffs that comes down to the wire. I mean, um I'm going way back, but I think about like back then we covered Rogers and Rosebud Lot and Rogers in the state semifinals at Waco ISD Stadium. That one was amazing. Chad and I were both at Floyd Casey Stadium when China Spring and La Vega played in 2007. Amazing game with Dustin Eskew laying out, stretching for the winning touchdown. We'll remember that day for a lot of reasons. But uh, and there's been others. I just think that when you get two local teams going at it, and DJ, you referenced it in your column, would be really cool to see whichever one of these goes on. Man, would be cool to see the winner go against Marlin in
Mhm,
the
mhm,
state championship game because they
mhm.
are on opposite sides of the bracket. So
Oh,
that's
so
when
we
they
could
would
get a
meet.
Central Texas State title game.
Yes, which
Um,
I can't remember one of those. Not in my time at the Trib.
I
So
doubt there has been. I doubt
that
there has been.
yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Hmm.
All right. So the six-man playoffs are a round deeper than the 11-man, meaning that Abbott and Oglesby both will be playing for spots in Jerryworld this week in the state semifinals. So, who do you feel like has a better shot to get there? And do you think that Central Texas could go 2 for 2 and get both the Panthers and the Tigers to Jerryworld?
I think Oglesby having gotten there last year is, big thing in their corner. Just looking straight on paper without any, deeper thinking. They're playing a team that's 8-5. Abbott's playing a team that's 13-0.
Right.
And the thing,
Abbott's playing the defending state champion.
right? And Abbott Gordon. I mean, you know, that's two big hitters in small school football.
To me, Abbott Gordon is the state championship game just a round earlier.
I had that thought too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to the other two teams, whoever they are that are still in it. But yeah, that one, Abbott Gordon it's 1 versus 2. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you say Oglesby probably has the better shot, which I would agree with. DJ?
I mean, yeah. I don't know much about Oakwood, but Oglesby is Oglesby. I mean, watching them play, even in the state title game last year, which they didn't win, they were still in it for most of it. And to come back a year later and they still have Kyler Fawcett, and I know Michael was like texting me a bunch of notes yesterday about them. He mentioned Holden Goff and just how significant he is as a freshman. So I feel like the Tigers probably have gotten better since their state title loss last year. I still think we could go 2 for 2. I think Abbott's got what it takes. I mean, they've already played Gordon before. They've lost to Gordon before at this point in the playoffs. Um, I feel like this group of seniors, especially,
Mm,
guys like Joey Pavelka, Riley Shustala, Mason
yeah.
Hahn, they want this, right? They
Yeah.
want this more than anything, and to go against this team in particular, I feel like they're gonna be fired up. Um, I think Abbott has a real chance of making the state title game this year, and I mean, I'm not saying that Gordon is easy. I mean, I watched them play last year, and if they're still that team or better, they're gonna be tough, but I feel like Abbott, I mean, has only had maybe what 2 or 3 games go into the fourth quarter, 2 games go into the fourth quarter. So
Yeah, they've been really, really efficient all year.
By the way, I got to give a shout out here to sixmanfootball.com and their Uber rankings, which rank 296 six-man football teams in the state of Texas every week. And I point that out because you go to those rankings and the four teams we're talking about, we got number 1, Gordon versus number 4, Abbott. And then you've got number 10, Oglesby against number 49, Oakwood.
Well, here's the thing. I know we're sitting here kind of dismissing Oakwood because they're 8-5, and I mean 5 losses at this stage of the season is sort of strange to see a team
Mm-hmm.
still around in that. Uh, they did just knock off Iredell, who was top 10 ranked all year long.
Mm-hmm.
Dragons were playing really good. I don't think Oglesby wants to just dismiss Oakwood.
Oh, well,
As
hey, if anybody's listening to what we're saying and translating that to the team is going to overlook their opponent, anybody who overlooks their semifinal opponent deserves to lose.
Right, right. And these
Yeah,
coaches are not going to let that happen. Jeb
right.
Dixon is smart. Kyle Crawford is smart. Um, I did have a cherry bomb pop up in my head as DJ was talking. Um, when it comes to wintertime, and we're almost there, I mean, it's starting to get colder.
Hey, it's snow on the ground where I'm sitting.
You want to have your faucet running, right? Otherwise, your pipes are going to burst. So you got to have your Kyler faucet running, man.
That is among the worst cherry bombs of all time.
You both laughed.
If only that had been in printed publication for to
Oh,
be
I
immortalized.
love it, love it, love it.
Oh, I'm in pain.
Yeah, we love I love the cherry bombs. Um so finally we are past Thanksgiving week now, but we always say it's special if you can get to that stage of the playoffs. Obviously extremely special if you can get to December, but let's give our eulogies for the dearly departed. We lost some teams last week, but I think we recognize that they had really, really good seasons getting to the third round of their respective playoffs. So we're talking about Gatesville, Live Oak. Those are the 11-man schools. And then in the 6-man ranks, Aquila, Jonesboro, Iredell, and Valor Prep. So out of that group, what kind of stands out for you? Who will you kind of remember the most?
Well, I've been following Valor Prep since the beginning of the season because I wrote the preview for them.
Hmm.
And Coach Bird is one of the most consistent guys that would send me stats week to week. So
We
I
like that, certainly.
yeah. Uh yeah, I mean they're interesting. I mean, this is their first season of existence ever. And most of those kids, when I talked to them at photo day, had never played real football like before, right? And then for them to come in and make it to the Tap State semifinal, and they lost to the number one team, so which was also in their district. That was their only district loss was against the same team that knocked them out of the playoffs. But I mean, and they just have so many kids that are really talented, right? And I I know I mentioned it in my column, but like Bear Geismer, for him to come in as the backup quarterback 3 games into the season, take over the starting role. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he told me that he hadn't played before this year. And he's like tossing up 500-yard games, 600-yard games, right?
Wait,
And
what was his name again?
Bear Geismer.
Okay, it just kind of sounded like you forgot his name and you went
No,
Bear.
no.
No.
I think she was not sure about that last name
Yeah,
pronunciation.
I don't know how to say it properly.
Yeah,
Um,
it may be Greisemer, but
Kind of like when I see a friend, I see somebody on the street, and they're like, "Hey, Chad," and they go, "Hey, Richard."
yeah. But then also the kid that was the starting quarterback, Duke Gaines, who got hurt, he still came back and was like doing everything, right? Like he was one of their like main defensive guys. Like he would still go in and like have however many receptions. I think he was their main rusher as well. Yeah, not to mention all of like the other kids that they had in there that were just putting up, insane numbers as receivers, is on defense, and they had also one of the most consistent kickers that I think I've seen um, out of that level. But yeah, I think Valor, they're going to have a high standard coming back for their second season next year.
Yeah, and here's the thing that impressed me about them, about the Knights. I mean, again, in six-man football, you're used to high scoring games, right? I mean, you don't necessarily blink when you see a 72 to 65. I mean, you're like, okay, it's six-man football. Well, the Knights were ridiculous. I mean, they had a 112-point game, and then in the playoffs, they against Holy Cross, uh, they won 146 to 99. I mean, that's just bananas. I mean,
They decided to play an NBA All-Star game that night.
right, right. I mean, it's basically line up, score a touchdown. Line up, score a touchdown. I mean, that's what that is. But so clearly, I think they've got it going offensively. Maybe one of the areas that Coach Bird will work on in the offseason is a little bit of defense. But
Um, so I'm glad you took that one because I thought the obvious one here was the Gatesville Hornets and Ray
sure,
Sean.
Yeah,
yeah,
I almost said them, but I was like, Chad is probably going to pick them.
it's all good.
And I was also going to mention Live Oak. You talked about
Mhm.
first. Live Oak, their first season in 11-man was definitely a good step forward for them
Hmm.
and laying that foundation for 11-man football. But yeah, Ray Sean Smith, and especially, I covered them against Columbia in the second round of the playoffs, and just a fantastic night. Went over 2,000 yards for the season in that game. So, yeah, applause to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll remember Gatesville's run for sure. Um, didn't the Hornets, did they go into week 11 needing, I mean, they weren't,
Well, there was probably a scenario in which they could have lost to Conley and missed the playoffs. It would have had to do with point differential
hmm,
kind of spring, I think. But ultimately, that was a seeding game.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Hornets going to be
okay.
the third seed, and Conley's going to be the fourth.
I guess
Still,
my
it's something that
I
you're
guess
playing
my
for in week
point
11.
I guess my point is a few weeks before the end of the regular season, it was not a certainty that
Mm-hmm.
Gatesville would even be in the playoffs. And then
I
they go,
think Lorena had to beat the Vega in order to knock Gatesville out because
okay.
Gatesville had lost to Lorena but beat China Spring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So for,
yeah.
for to have a team like that and then to go 3 rounds deep, I think, is a big feather in the cap of the Hornets and Coach Hunter out there, and certainly Ray Sean Smith. I mean, we've talked about him before. We do not consider him underrated anymore. He is properly rated because we think he's great. Uh, and then just to continue on the theme that Chad brought up there, I do think that Live Oak. Um, so the seniors on that team, when they were freshmen, won a TAP state title in six man,
Mm-hmm.
and for them to have that kind of success, and both Brice Helton and Matt Hurst talked about it. Those guys, you know, if they'd have been like, no, we don't want to do this. We can win a state championship in six man this year. Um, if they'd have, kind of pushed back, that would not have they would not have had the kind of success they had this year. They were bought in as a group. They were like, okay, let's do it, and
Mm-hmm.
had to learn a lot of things that they had never done before, really. I mean, you don't have like a true offensive line in six-man football, and
Mm-hmm.
you had to build that up and all of that. So to make the state semifinals in year one, definitely a big deal. And I think that as time progresses, we're going to be covering Live Oak in Waco playing for a state championship in 11-man football. I mean,
Hey, before we go, I just had one more thought that I don't know if we'll get another chance to say it this year, but if you're a college football program, out there and you need a running back, look at Gatesville's Rayshon Smith and La Vega's Bryson Rowland, because those two guys can help a college football program somewhere.
Amen. Amen. And I almost feel shamed now that you say that, because I just realized I did not put Rayshon Smith in the Centex 25. Maybe he is underrated. Which would be our ranking of the
It hasn't
top
been published
25.
yet, has it?
I published it today, yes. It's
Okay.
out there. But I do have Bryson Rowland in there. I would say coaches go after both those guys. I would echo that comment, and DJ would too. So, yeah, fun stuff. So both of you will be at the La Vega game, correct?
Yep.
That'll be fun. La Vega, who the crap do they play again?
Sealy Tigers.
Yeah, Sealy. The Eric Dickersons. The fighting Eric Dickersons of Sealy. Yeah, that should be fun. Obviously, they knocked out one of our area team, or two of our area.
Two.
Yeah.
Robinson and Gatesville.
And
So
they've gotten hot. I mean, they've gotten hot second half of the season in the playoffs. So good game. Good game.
Yeah. You'll both be there. Chad will be shooting it. DJ will be writing it. DJ's got the trifecta this week with a threefer. She'll also be.
Oh my gosh. I overbooked myself this week, man. So Thursday I'll be in San Marcos for the Marlin Gator game.
Yep.
Crashing on my friend's couch in Austin, then going to Pflugerville on Friday for the La Vega Sealy game, driving back that night, setting up a yard sale because I'm trying to get rid of a ton of stuff at my friend's house. And then probably gonna have to leave that early to go cover the Oglesby Oakwood game in Robinson.
Yeah.
And then heading out to Rockdale because my cousin's having a gender reveal party for her baby. So
that is a whirlwind.
Well, but let me just say, to be in your 20s and crashing on a friend's couch in Austin between high school football playoff games, it's just a little bit of heaven.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen every time that I stay at Matt's for football stuff, like last time I did the after dark from his living room, and he's like, "Those people have seen my living room," and I was like, "Yeah,
all
yeah,
of
they
America
have."
now."
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. No, yeah, I'm with you, Chad. That's kind of living the dream right there. But yeah, it does sound like a whirlwind. I've got a similar whirlwind as I travel to Connecticut this week.
The jet set Brice Cherry is going back to the Northeast.
Yes.
He ain't afraid of no snow.
How was Broadway?
Broadway was amazing. I saw Chicago, but even better. This is just, if you're ever going to New York City, I would recommend this highly. Go see the Rockettes for real. It's not just
been there, done that.
Not just
about
dancing.
30 years ago.
Yeah, they are really, really good. I gotta go. The dog's barking. See you later.